All right. Well, there's Messi for all of
We're
you.
good.
I know he came to the U.S., but hey, he's from over there. So we're talking about 3 keys to ensuring on-time delivery. We're going to talk about finding what I call a well of freelancers to deliver work. Because if you're supply constrained, you don't have the people, you're not going to be able to sell, and you're not going to be able to deliver consistently. I'm going to talk about a few pricing strategies so you don't go broke. This is for all the freelancers and agencies out there. And then at the end, the 4 big lessons that have let us scale from 100,000 words a month to 1 million words a month edited in just under 2 years. So hopping into it, let's do this. Added in a comma there because there was a grammatical typo. So one thing I want us to remember is this is for the agencies of freelancers. I'm mostly going to be talking to agencies and freelancers because I assume that's who the kind of the core audience is here. Clients don't fire you for delivering work late. They fire you for not telling them that it's going to be late. So Will Critchlow from Distilled and now Search Pilot told me this years ago. It was either Will or Tom. I think it was Will though, and then Tom evangelized it. But basically, work delivery is all about communication. It's about setting expectations, and then if work is going to be late, that's not necessarily a problem. People understand that life happens. Your kid gets sick or something happens, but if you don't tell them, then that's where the problem is. So. We've edited 12 million plus words of content since January 2023 when I went full time on the business. We've only ever returned fewer than 50 documents out of 8,000 plus late. I'm very proud of that. It's like 99.98% on time or something like that. And all the rest were delivered, within a day, if not like by the end of that day. They were just later than like the time that we gave them, which is around midday, Eastern time, US. So the first lesson is productize as much as you can. So Editor Ninja, I called it an agency. We're really what people often call a productized service. We stay in our lane. We do what we do. We don't do other things. We don't do web development. We don't do link building. We don't do that sort of stuff. We're a content editing and writing company. But productizing is the way that we've been able to scale. So contrary to popular belief, productization is not about pricing. Productizing your pricing or standardizing your pricing, like I like to say, is a really good way to sell work, right? Because you know exactly what to propose to people. You can put your pricing on your site. People know exactly what they're buying. Productization, though, is really about ease of delivery. So everything you sell or deliver should have a set process for delivery so that you can sell it many times, you can produce it many times, and trust that it's delivered on time every time. And everything just gets easier when you do this. So you know exactly who is writing and who is editing and when it's due back and who's overseeing it, and how much someone gets at what time, all of that sort of stuff. It's all productized and people can basically buy, what it is that they need, but you have set packages for that. Number 2, set expectations up front about delivery timelines. So this is with your client, if you're an agency, with internal stakeholders, if you have, work due to somebody, set expectations up front of what you'll deliver and when it's going to come back to them, when they can expect it. If you set these up front, it does a few things for you. Number 1, you can point back to what you told them, right? So do it in writing. Don't just tell them like, remember I told you on that one random Zoom call that you may not have been on. It's in an email. You can always reference back to it. So you can point them back to it when questions arise, and you can build your processes around this as well. And then one thing that we do is we actually show every customer through the status through the process, right? So this is queued up, this is in editing, this is in QA, and this is returned, right? And here's the final document, for example. What this does is it makes a very sane business. I hate fire drills. I hate rush work. I hate like one-off emails. Hey, can you give this access and that sort of thing? This kills margins. It kills morale. It gums up my inbox. I can't focus on bigger stuff, right? Or I have to pay someone else, to do it when really a process could solve it. So my goal overall and when you're delivering work at scale, you have to eliminate fire drills and rush work, because that basically becomes like unbillable time. As I said, no rush jobs. I want to kind of hammer this point home. And the way that we do it, personally, is we build in an extra day for review of content. So the way that we do this is we have redundancy within our team. So every account that we bring on has a primary editor, a secondary editor, a lead editor, and then our head of ops is also an editor who was our original lead editor. So we basically have backups to our backups to our backups. So if the primary talent is unavailable, then a backup person is already in place and they can slot in. And then we have a production cycle for every deliverable. So when we're writing content for someone, we basically tell them, hey, it's going to be 5 days from the time we start the request is made, 5 business days to when it comes back. But the writer has 4 days. and then the editor has another day to get it done. So we're building in extra time basically to make sure that we're getting, the right stuff back. And if, the writer happens to run into an issue or something like that, then, we can adjust for that and communicate when we have to. So those are three key things to scaling delivery. Next up, I want to talk about finding a well of freelancers to deliver work. Another gift for the Brits in the crowd. So one thing that we have found is that friends refer friends when they love where they work. And friends make friends when they're studying or working together is basically what I have found. I'm going to explain what I mean by that. So what's a well? So almost all of our editors, we have 14 now, I think, have come from a network of trained editors who all come from the same university master's program. Little school in Virginia, ironically, like coincidentally, close to where I'm from. But I got lucky in that my executive assistant from my last company graduated from there. That old executive assistant is now Editor Ninja's head of operations. So I'd already started the company. I kind of got lucky, right? In that, like, I started this company and then I hired this person who was also an editor who became one of our first editors, then became our first lead editor and is now our head of operations. But if you don't already have an in like this, you don't, get lucky like this when you're starting a new company or something, or starting a new, initiative within an agency or something. One great way to do this is just reach out to university programs and tell them that you want to hire their students. Find the person in charge and basically say, this is who I am. This is what we're doing. And my bet is that if you reach out to enough programs, because volume negates luck, right? So you may have to reach out to 10 or 15 or something like that have that are training the kind of person, the kind of skills that you need. My bet is that you're going to be overwhelmed with applicants. And that's a good problem to have. I'd much rather have too much supply, too many people wanting work than not be able to find people to deliver the work, which would mean that I couldn't sell and I couldn't grow the company. So finding this deep well of people is super, super, super important. If that doesn't work or you need help right now, another way you can do it is just using Facebook and LinkedIn groups to start finding qualified people. So obviously we're in the content space. And when I started Editor Ninja, I joined a bunch of these Facebook and LinkedIn groups. They're full of people looking for work. But importantly, I didn't spam it. I didn't just go and post and say like, hey, this is, this is who I am. This is what I'm looking for. I contacted the owners, the administrators of the group, and asked if I could post. A few were just like, yeah, go for it. Like our people are needing work. They're begging us for somewhere that they can get work from. And a few asked me to send language, and they said that they would post for me, and they did that. So in 2 to 3 days, I had 45 qualified applicants. From nothing to 45 in literally 2 to 3 days. I used this group to get to our first $1,000 in revenue, and then we kind of formalized our program from there, which I'm going to talk about here in a minute. So we don't have editor turnover. Like, we've had one editor ever quit. And they honestly, they were not a great fit for our culture. So we treat all of our contractors as if they're part of the core team. This means they get company updates, right? How things are going. They can, as new clients come in, like that sort of thing, they're getting those updates. Everybody's in Slack. So it's basically as if they're working for us full time, but they're all there in Slack. And so they're all communicating with each other. Another thing that we do is we pay them on a consistent basis automatically. So they don't have to track their time. They don't have to invoice us, that sort of thing. They obviously have like reporting and such so that they can, make sure that we're paying them the right amount. But we pay them on a consistent basis every 2 weeks. So, it's not like a lot of contractors that they have to do the work and then they can invoice and then they wait, net 30 to get paid. So really it's 60 days after they do the work. Our editors are getting paid 2 weeks, maximum 2 weeks after they do the work. So they love that. It's consistent income, for them. And they also know each other and they work together. So there's no silos, right? Anyone in Slack can contact anybody. And they're working together on different projects and that sort of thing. So, we really try to foster this sort of team mentality. And because of this, they refer their friends all the time. People really enjoy working for us. Another thing we do is we retain them with a retention payment. So I was given this advice from a mentor early on, that we have our core team of contractors. We bring on other people for, small specific specialist projects. So we don't do the same thing with them. But for our core team of editors, and writers, we retain them with a small guaranteed amount each week. It's nominal, but they appreciate it. So if we don't have the work for them, they're still going to get paid something because they're reserving that time, to be able to work for us. And they absolutely love this. And they in large part, they refer their friends because of this, because they're like, hey, this is a great consistent place like to get work. One pro tip here is that you should build into your contract that if you don't have any work for them for X weeks, X amount of time, you have the right to bench them, right? And to not pay the retainer. It doesn't mean you do this. We've literally only done it once in the 3+ years that we've been doing this. But you're kind of protecting yourself there. And the best antidote to this, to not having to bench them, is a strong sales pipeline. So just FYI. And then when you need more talent, what we do is we just go and we ask our existing team for referrals to their friends. Hey, who do you know? Right? Who would you like to work with? And they're like, well, here's 3 people. We're like, great. And we can literally have someone hired, a good qualified person hired in like 2 days, if we need to. You can offer a referral bonus, but it's not required. I've found, we don't, honestly. People just want to work with great people. But what I learned this hack when I worked at Zillow, which was hiring super fast. We went from 600 to 2,400 people in the 2 years that I was there. Part of that was a big acquisition, but they hired hundreds of people. And I think it was something like 60% of the people hired were referrals from an internal employee. And Zillow did give a referral like kickback, but they found that basically like, if you're a good employee and you're a good fit for the culture, you're going to refer other people who are good at what they do and are a good fit for the culture. So this is the way that we're able to scale up super quick. And then another one is test their skills. Don't just take their word that they're good. This is especially important with like writers and all of that. Get their portfolio. That's great. But do a paid test project to vet the quality of their work. So key here is paid. So we pay them, we have kind of a set amount that we pay them. We have a set assignment that we give them. A portfolio only shows their best and most polished work, which there's a typo there. So this is not my best and most polished work, apparently. But a portfolio only shows that. You want to see their raw effort so that you understand how much additional work their work is going to need, how much additional editing or rounds of revision and that sort of thing. So that's finding a well of freelancers there. The key things to remember are, finding a program where basically there are a lot of people who already do this thing. So you can find like an academic program, you can find Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, and then hire good people, do paid test projects. And then we need more people, ask them to refer their friends who are similarly good and that they would enjoy working with. And we found that to work really well. So this one is going to be specifically for the agencies and freelancers out there. So here's some pricing strategies so you don't go broke while you're scaling. You can't serve people and you can't scale if you're running out of money or if you've run out of money. So here's some lessons that I've learned along the way. Number 1, maximum 40% delivery cost. So what I mean by this is if someone pays you $1,000 for something, your maximum cost to deliver that. So, paying people time, et cetera, should be $400 and ideally less than that if you can maintain the same quality, right? So if you can get to like 30%, 25% cost, and then the rest is gross profit, right? Or net profit. I always forget which one is which, but basically, you get to keep, if you deliver it for 400, you get to keep 600. And that's what, everyone else is. So that's all the people actually doing the work. And then everything else comes out of that. So, paying yourself, marketing cost, tools that you pay for, all that sort of stuff, comes out of, that additional 600. If your margin is less than that, it's really hard to invest in the business to grow it or to even pay yourself. I've seen too many agencies that are operating at like 25% after everything is delivered. I'm like, you can't grow that business. You can't invest in marketing, can't go to conferences, that sort of stuff. Everything just feels really tight and you can't grow nearly as fast as you could otherwise. So my rule is basically 40% max delivery costs. As costs go up, which they do, you do need to be raising your prices. Raise them for new customers to start off with. That kind of shows you where you can get to. I've overshot on pricing and had to bring it back. But the more premium that you can be, the better clients that you're going to get. You can grandfather in existing customers, but just know that you're leaving profit, aka your pay, on the table. So profit after, all like marketing and everything else is paid. So one thing you can do is you can offer to grandfather them in for X months if they pay up front. So 6 months or something like that, but also give them a heads up before you raise prices on existing customers. Also know that you're going to lose a percentage of customers. They're probably your lowest paying and probably honestly your worst customers. So are you going to be sad to see them go? Maybe, maybe not. You might miss the revenue, but you're not going to miss the work. But your best ones are going to stay. And you can also do the math on like kind of what percent you can afford to lose before you're making less money. But probably what you're going to find is you're going to make more money doing less work, which is a big win. And the best way to guarantee this delivery margin is to have a strong sales and hiring pipeline at the same time. Means you're going to be less tempted to discount or afraid to sell. And as a founder of business development, sales, marketing should be your focus. So you never want to get to a place where you can't sell more work. I've been there. It sucks. Or when selling more work means you go out of business, which is even worse. So that means you have to fix your pricing. You have to fix your delivery and find ways to optimize for it. Another second point on pricing is have a Charlie plan. So I call this the Charlie plan because my buddy Charlie told me to do it and it worked. I was talking about my pricing. He's like, well, it's not working because you don't have a big plan. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, have a plan that's orders of magnitude larger than your next one. So 3 to 5x the one that you want people to buy. It makes that one appear that one appear reasonable because you're anchoring them to that larger cost, right? They're like, wow, $30,000. There's no way I could pay that. 12 looks super reasonable, right? And that's where you actually really want them. So that works really well. And you'll also have some people take you up on it. So they would, and they may not have done that, or you may have had to like custom quote it. And that takes a ton of time if you didn't offer that large plan as well. You'll find like 10% of people will take you up on that. The rest of the 80% will take somewhere in the middle. And then the bottom 10% are going to want the cheapest plan. So this is like an example of kind of how I've spec'd it out on one of our offer pages. So you can see like our lowest is $897. I want people to take the $10,997, but I have them anchored against basically $30,000 for the year. So always present 3 pricing options is the next one. So whenever you pitch a new project, include 3 options for them. One is 80% of what they need for 100% of their stated budget, if you have their stated budget. And so basically the goal there is for them to say like, but that's not quite everything that I need, right? Great. Which is why we have the second one, which is the one you want them to take. This is 110% of what they need. So it's everything they've asked for, plus the things that you know they need that they haven't asked for yet. And this is for 120% of their budget. Because if they say, hey, I've got $5,000, they can go to $6,000. Almost always. And then your last one is 200% of the budget, which is basically just the 120, the package 2, but it's done a lot faster. So and what I say is you're dragging next year's results forward into this year. All right. So a couple minutes left. 4 big lessons that let us scale from 100K to 1 million words a month. Number 1 is having a dedicated team and onboarding process for each client. Onboarding a new client is costly. We've done a ton of work on this over the years. We've actually been able to over double our customer lifetime value in the last year by basically standardizing our onboarding and making sure we have everything that we need. You don't want to spend multiple meetings, meetings are the hidden profit killer of a business, onboarding a lot of people. So, introducing the client to this person, that person, the other person, get them all in one. And teams who work together do better work together. So try to keep similar teams working on multiple accounts and have a set way to kick projects off. So once the sale is closed, we do an introduction to the team. We do an onboarding call. My head of ops or our ops team does an onboarding call with them within 3 days, introducing them to our portal where work is delivered or to their editors. And then we have follow-ups on a set cadence to make sure that stuff is going well, see if there are any problems going on. We're hearing like other little things along the way, but we do have a set cadence of it's like 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 months, 3 months. And then after they've been on for 3 months, then basically we follow up every quarter. Second one is centralized knowledge for a project or account. So it's inefficient or risky for one person to be the bottleneck to the information about a client or about a project and constantly ask the same thing by multiple people. So keep a centralized location. We do it within our proprietary software. We have like an account section and we do it in there, but have a centralized location where everyone can look to get what they need. So this includes sales, the scope of it, who's on the project, their contact information, all that sort of stuff. You can also do this in Google Drive. You can do it in a CRM, something like that. You can build it into your website, but having that, it literally like cut out like 50% of our like operational overhead once a project was actually on because people didn't have to ask questions. They could just go there. When to line up more talent. This is a big one. We never want to hit a point where you can't sell more work because you don't have delivery capacity. I know I've talked about this a few times, but it's so important. My rule of thumb is to start lining up more approved talent when our overall team hits 75% capacity. So if they can work, if they can edit 1 million words, once we're editing 750, then we start looking, for another editor because, we can take a little bit of time to get them on board. We don't have to rush, right? No fire drills within the business. And then by the time the team is at 85%, we've hired someone and then we can slot them in the next new account or two. So this of course supposes that you have a strong sales pipeline. So, you're not keeping someone like basically approved, but not getting any work for like 4 months. So if you don't have a strong sales pipeline, solve that first. And then the last one is always look for leverage. So always look for ways where you can decrease effort and increase output, increase the output and therefore the results. So a few examples for you. Number one is we have a dedicated editor offering basically a placement service where we place an editor within an agency or within a marketing team. B2B marketing teams really love this one. This lets us scale at consistent 60% margins while reducing operational effort. So there's a lot less like work to be done by the team outside of the actual editors. And this means we can scale faster with fewer people. Another one is when you're hitting capacity, before asking people to refer their friends, ask them if they want more work. It's much easier to add hours to someone who's already on a part-time basis. You can't really do it on a full-time basis, unfortunately, but it's much easier to add hours to someone who's already working with you than to bring on a new person, get them up to speed, et cetera. It's riskier to bring on a new person. And then the third one that we did is we create a shared Slack channel with every single client. Has the editors, lead editor, operations. I'm in those as well, though I mute most of them. It actually decreased communications. It made communication time a lot faster. And this one alone, both the onboarding and this one like cut churn by like 30, 35, 40%, something like that. And so it increased customer lifetime value significantly. And then a couple bonuses for you as well. I said in the outline that I was going to do 4, but I actually had more. So bonus number 1 is when demand increases, cut supply or raise prices. So one of my favorite ways to control supply, if you're not, or to control demand, is to raise prices. So if you raise prices, fewer people are going to say yes, to it. So you'll slow the capacity decrease, and those who do are going to be at a higher profit margin. And then if you need to, and you're really uptight for supply for people to deliver the work, because you have a higher profit margin, you can also pay that person more, right? You can pay someone more, to come on faster or to give you more time, overtime, like that sort of thing. And then another thing that you can do is you can create a wait list. So you're cutting supply here, like you're artificially constraining demand, or you're just basically telling them that you don't have the supply yet. But you can do this without saying that by creating a wait list and saying something like, we start new clients on Mondays. I have a kickoff open in 3 weeks. Does that work for you? This does 2 things. It's both a close tactic and a delay tactic at the same time. And I love finding things like that. And then the last one is if you're a marketing, sales, and growth-oriented founder like me, operations is probably not your strong suit. So hire operations people as soon as you can. There are people that love doing new things, building new processes, starting new businesses, that type. That's me. I'm very good at establishing these processes. I'm very bad at consistently running them. My team is always like, John, you didn't follow the process. I'm like, I know. So I hired people that do follow processes, and then I'm able to keep them on track. Like this process wasn't followed, right? So our head of operations, Sophia, was my first full-time hire, and we would not have been able to grow nearly as fast as we have without her, without me kind of getting out of the way, with my ADHD entrepreneurial, like scatterbrained brain. So really the lesson is find the person who complements your skills, then trust them. And and for me, that was operations. So that's it. Thank you. I appreciate it. As I said, we're Editor Ninja. So if you're producing 10 plus articles a month or more, most of our clients are producing 40, 50, 60 articles a month. The agencies in-house teams are a little bit less. I'd love to speak with you. And we do have editors that are British. So we can do UK and Australia. Most of what we do is US English. We can also do Spanish. So for what it's worth. And I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. So just search me, John Doherty, Editor Ninja, and I should pop right up. And that's where I spend most of my time. So thanks, everybody. I appreciate you.